Anthony Scaramucci is with me. Good to see you, sir.
Good to be here.
Good to see you. Right. How do we describe you these days? What's the best description?
Well, listen, I'm running about $11 billion. I'm the founder of Skybridge Capital that's about to celebrate its 15th anniversary this week.
So, in this environment...
Other than the 11-day fiasco in Washington, I've been running money for 31 years.
I love the fact that you're the first person to own the fiasco.
Yeah, you got to own things in life. I mean, what are you going to do? It was a mistake, and let's move on.
All right, we'll move on, but we'll come back to it.
We can come back to it too, though.
No, we won't come back to the
happy
mistake.
To talk about it.
No, but we will come back to politics in just a moment.
Yeah.
I need to know your view on this market.
Okay, so I am in the most defensive position that I've been in 31 years. We've run about $11 billion. Right now, I'm in primarily fixed income and cash, and have a very, very low equity exposure.
When did you go into that?
So if you and I had this conversation 3 months ago, I would have said to you what was going on in terms of the expansion of PE, late cycle deficit spending, that what was going on was long-term unsustainable, that you couldn't go into an 11th year of this side of economic expansion and not see a correction in the markets.
But if, I know this is coulda, shoulda, woulda, if there hadn't been coronavirus, you'd have been sitting in fixed income and cash, whilst the market was at all-time high.
And I would have been wrong. You know, we were up about 5.5 last year with very low beta, no duration in our portfolio. The market was up 25, 30, depending on what index you were in. I would have been wrong. But we're up a couple of points this year because we're in a defensive position, and we recognize that there's going to be more volatility and greater uncertainty.
So I was talking to Brian Baskey just a moment ago. At some point you're going to want to come back into
no question.
the market.
Yeah.
Has enough froth come off the top here that you think, have the fundamentals altered so that you like it?
So interest rates are the physical gravity of financial assets. When the Fed moves them down, that augurs that asset prices should go up. However, when you look at the historical analysis of equity markets, we're still priced 17-ish times forward earnings for equities. And what you and I both know about the coronavirus, no matter what its severity is, there's a perception that it's severe and it's slowing down the economy, slowing down profitability for companies. So those PE numbers are going to get adjusted downward. And even though the Fed cut by 50 basis points, I still think there's some rotation downward in the markets.
Okay, so looking at the bonds, the bond is just under 1%.
Not in love with that.
In what way?
Well, because that is a warning sign on the economic dashboard that there's a potential recession coming. If the bond is under 1, that's two things it's telling you. Fed's jamming down rates, and corporations are not in the capital markets borrowing to grow their businesses, rebuild their capital structures and things like that.
And yet, with this sort of rates, corporations should be in the business of refinancing existing higher debt.
Well, they will do that on the margin. They will definitely do that on the margin, but what they're not doing right now is aggressive capital spending, because otherwise the rates wouldn't be this low. Remember, the interest rate ultimately is a price for the money, and the money is in demand when you think you can make more with that money than the number that you're borrowing it from. And so right now people are worried.
So is this a real time just sit on the sidelines and watch?
Well, you know, for me, we're in structured credit. We have a loss-adjusted yield in our portfolio of about 9%. So we should get a 6-7% return from our portfolio this year if we just stay where we are. But I just don't like I don't like where the PE levels are in the market right now.
For your firm, what level of return do you consider respectable?
So I've said this consistently. 7% return gets you the promised land in life. If you just do the rule of 72, you double your capital every 10 years, and you can become a very wealthy, very independent person.
But the temptation to want to rush for yield and 10%.
Well, here's the problem though, Richard. You and I both know this. Every time we rush to do something, every time you create impetuosity in the markets, you're prone to make mistakes. But despite my stupidity in politics, I'm a very cautious investor.
Let's talk politics. Let's just go straight to politics. Bloomberg's out.
Yeah, that's a tragedy, but that's fine.
Biden versus Bernie.
Yeah.
The way I put it earlier, Bernie beats Biden, Bloomberg busts. So who wins between Biden and what are the dynamics now?
Let me ask you a question though. Are Bloomberg voters going to vote for Bernie? What do you think his crossover is?
No, they're going to go to Biden.
They're going to go to Biden. So then just add up those totals. Biden should handily beat Bernie Sanders, because he'll be 2-1 on Bernie Sanders.
But yet, but Sanders got California, and there's a real risk that if and when Biden gets it, Sanders supporters don't come on board. They do what they did with Clinton, Hillary Clinton. They stay at home in a bad temper.
So I don't mean any disrespect to Secretary Clinton, because I genuinely like her as a person, but there was a certain animus that people had towards her in the relationship with Bernie Sanders. I don't feel they have that towards Joe Biden, and I think Bernie Sanders recognizes the systemic danger that Donald Trump represents, and I think he'll work much harder for Joe Biden than he did for Secretary Clinton.
In a battle between Biden and Trump, should Donald Trump now be worried?
I think he should be, because the president has alienated a good 60% of the population. And if you looked at exit polling data last night from Republicans in their primaries and Democrats, he's lost a lot of support in the suburban woman community. The gender gap right now for the president is about 23.5%. So basically he's turned off most of the women in our country. And so I don't know how you turn those people back on in 6 months.
No, but maybe you don't. Do you need to?
You've also taken the wind out of the sails economically. So that pillar to his story, you pulled the pin on that. The Obama economy and the Obama stock market has done way better than the Trump economy.
That's not the perception outside, is it? The perception outside
it's not,
is
but with Joe Biden in place and Barack Obama campaigning for him, that will become the perception, because that's the reality. That's the facts on the ground.
But what about those 80 to 100,000 people that voted for Donald Trump, that put him over the edge, who are enjoying arguably better economic times at the moment? You know, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania.
Well, I mean, they are and they're not, because you got to really look at the data. The middle class communities are not. If they're listening to the television, they may feel slightly better, but I'm telling you right now, something happened where they feel slightly worse. That press conference, if the president loses, his press conference last week, not the redo, but the one last week, which was $1 trillion hit to the markets, that press conference was arguably the worst press conference in presidential history. And people look back at that conference and say, okay, the emperor had no clothing in that conference. You can't lie like that about something that's health related or scientific. You want to tell 17,000 other lies. You can't tell a lie like that. And I think people lost a lot of confidence in the president last week.
So the Republican Party is stuck with Donald Trump for this election cycle.
They are.
And
unless he says he's no mas, he does a Lyndon Johnson.
No,
which I lit Novena Campbell's for the Republican Party on the way over here, but go ahead.
But if that, no, that's not going to happen. Yeah. But in which case, do the Republicans fight as hard to get in? The Republicans who are wishy-washy about what they've seen from him fight as hard to get him re-elected as the Democrats are clearly going to fight to get.
So again, I think the passion is on the other side, sir. I think that the passion was with Donald Trump in 2016.
Exactly, that's my point.
Yeah, but the hatred for Donald Trump and the dislike of Donald Trump is systemic now, and I think that they're going to turn out in droves, particularly in the South.
Finally,
the African American community wants to defeat the president.
Okay,
among many other communities.
So, Sanders with his socialist policies, Biden with his moderate policies, you with your Wall Street hat.
Yeah.
Factor that in.
Well, I would take, of everybody, I would take Joe Biden, because what you know about Wall Street, I know about Wall Street, they like stability, they like levels of complacency. I think the president has represented disruption from the right, and when you have a situation like the virus and things like that that are providing instability, you're going to see the voter pendulum swing back to something more stable.
And you can plead the fifth on this one.
I've never have, so I probably won't.
In an election between Trump and Biden, do you stay as a Republican?
Well, I stay as a Republican, but I vote for Joe Biden. So I'm a Republican.
How can you
I'm a Republican for Joe Biden, because the president's not a Republican. At the end of the day, the Republicans that are around the president, well, I'm not a Trumpist. I'm an old school Republican like Mitt Romney, old school Republican like George Herbert Walker Bush. I'm not a Trumpist. I don't agree with the spending, the $2 trillion of additional deficit spending. I don't agree with the hatred and the nonsense, the license for impunity, the racism. That stuff I don't buy into. But the more traditional conservative aspects of growing the economy through supply side economics, that's stuff that I do.
Will you campaign for Biden?
If he asks me to, I will.
Right, Mr. Biden.
You think he's going to ask me?
I don't know. You know him.
But maybe he watches CNN.
You know him.
Maybe he watches CNN International. We'll see.
Good
Of
to
course
see
I'll campaign for him. We got to beat Trump. Come on, it's ridiculous. You know, and your viewers know how crazy Trump is, and they know that sane people have to work together to beat him.
You're always good value, aren't you?
Yeah, well, at least I'm telling you what I think.
Let's go and make some money.
All right, God bless.
Good to see you,
Thank
as
you.
always. Thank
Okay,
you.
God bless.
Well, there you have it, a wide range. But I think the fascinating part of what he was talking about was on the market points. In many ways, this idea of what's happening within the markets at the moment.